Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Chris Elliott Show. Coach Elliott will join us in just a few minutes here on his own show, talking some Wildcat football. We'll go back here in just a second, get Zach O'Kelly, our co-host. We'll get his thoughts on the big win up at Missouri Baptist, and then setting the stage for the UT Martin game coming up Thursday night at 6:30 at Hardy M. Graham Stadium in Martin. Zach, welcome back, sir. Good to have you back with us.
Good to be back.
And certainly a big win for the Cats, and an impressive win on the road.
Yes, it was. As we talked all week, the offensive line looked great, the defensive front looked great, and a lot of depth at the running back position looked great.
Yeah, we'll talk to Coach Elliott about that, and we'll mention him in a few minutes about that depth. Sellers playing well, the receivers. I'm telling you, Hunter Smith did a really good job, and a lot of other people. And the defense really strong as they could be, and just a real solid effort by everyone. Nice way to begin the season.
It was, and the one key factor, they didn't make very many mistakes and capitalized on those that the opponent made.
Special teams played well. Casey kicked the ball. Camersville kicked the ball well, and just about every, you look at special teams, 30% of the game. We'll talk with Coach Elliott about that in a few minutes as well. But Quincy Walden set the Cats up in great field position. He's electrifying, isn't he?
He's unbelievable.
He really is.
To quote Derek Hubble, he's unbelievable.
He's as quick as I used to be back in my younger days. We're going to do Zach's picks here in just a few minutes, but going back and looking at the situation last week, we had some big wins for some of the schools in the conference.
We did. I think the way I had them picked, I went 3-1 last week.
Did you?
The one upset was Cumberland's beat Campbellsville 27-24.
Yeah, Cumberland's, that was a nice win for them up there. They've been struggling a little bit last year after such a great year the year before. But Campbellsville and one of the opponents that we'll take on, and of course we traveled to Williamsburg to take on the Cumberlands. First time we met them in a few years as well. Lindsey Wilson went over the line and just throttled a new program over there.
Well, and that's, being a new program line, just kind of getting things started. They give them a couple of years, they'll probably be as competitive as anybody in the in the NAIA.
Let's get into your picks if you want to. Zach O'Kelly does Zach's picks each week here on the Chris Elliott Show. And Coach Elliott, again, he's waiting in the wings. He'll join us in just a couple of minutes. He always likes this segment to see who Zach's going to pick. And part of that picking, too, will be the UT Martin and the Bethel game. But let's get in. We'll get into some of the games here. And first of all, 2 Thursday night games. We'll save our game with UTM. We'll save that a little later. But Cumberland, Tennessee at West Alabama.
West Alabama, a GSC school, D2. I'm very familiar with them being from the Florence area, from University of North Alabama being there in Florence. Cumberland had a big win at Georgetown, upset win previous week. So Cumberland is going to be tough this year. But I think West Alabama will win that game. We take on Cumberland up in Lebanon later this year as well. West Alabama, it's really sort of, I don't mean to be demeaning, but it's really sort of out in the middle of nowhere. I think the clearest Walmart is like 20 miles away. The reason I know all these things is because Lambeth played down there a few times. But Will Atkinson, a great friend of mine, he was also the softball coach and done a great job down there. So you're picking West Alabama. What's your score there? 31-17.
31-17. Not a bad game, though. We'll save that again, that Bethel Martin game here in just a minute. Campbellsville will be at Weber International.
Big road trip for Campbellsville. A little bit of sour grapes from the first week, being upset by Cumberland's. Weber International 1-1 right now. Have had 2 road games. This will be their first home game. I've got that going to be, and both teams ranked. Campbellsville number 16, Weber International number 24. I've got that one. Campbellsville will sneak out of there with a win.
Campbellsville winning. What's that score?
27-24.
27-24. That would be a great ball game no matter who wins it in that case, if that's the score. Lindsey Wilson at Georgetown. We'll go ahead and get right to Bill Cronin's team, the Tigers. They've sort of been the Yankees of the league for years, and certainly everyone wants to beat Georgetown, especially the fellow Commonwealth schools like Lindsey Wilson from Columbia.
That's big bragging rights as well. That's the same way with us here with Cumberland. Sure. When we play Cumberland in football, and even Mark Memphis as we play him anything else other than football. So both teams ranked. Lindsey Wilson in top 10. Georgetown fell down to 11. Georgetown upset, as we said, by Cumberland. Lindsey Wilson had a huge win, but you can kind of throw that out of there as they played played a weak, kind of a little bit of a weaker opponent. I've got that pretty close as well, but the Blue Raiders I've got them pulling the road win there.
Well, Jenny Elder, the SID at Georgetown, a great friend of ours. Chris Wells is the SID at Lindsey. And by the way, Lindsey Wilson's coming to town in soccer this coming Sunday. Nationally ranked team, 2 nationally ranked teams against our Cats, coming off a big win the other night. But certainly, if you're looking for something to do Sunday at 2 o'clock, come out and see Lindsey Wilson and Bethel play soccer as well. Chris, a great friend of mine, Chris Wells there. But Blue Raiders, I think they're going to come up a little short. I'm going to go with Bill Cronin's Georgetown Tigers. I always got to see them get beat at home before I think they're going to. Some other action. Faulkner at Bluefield.
Faulkner, very impressive in the first win. They're top 10 school, ranked number 10. Bluefield 0-2 on the season. I've played Pikeville and played Point last week. I've got Faulkner win that game.
What's your score?
59-13.
Yeah, Faulkner is a high-octane offense. We'll see them later this year as well. Kentucky Christian at Reinhardt. I don't know a lot about KCU. We go up there in a couple of weeks, but after the Pikeville game, we go to Grayson, Kentucky, which is up in God's country, just on the other side of Lexington. About an hour and a half, 2 hours, but who you like here?
Well, Reinhardt's receiving votes. Reinhardt had a big win the first week when they played Point. They put up 73 in the first week. I've got it, Reinhardt, and they picked a co-champion of the West Division this year. Yeah. I get 45-27 Reinhardt.
Reinhardt, cosmetically, not a huge stadium, but one of the prettiest places you'll ever visit. Down in a little valley with the trees and the way they put the stadium down there is absolutely gorgeous there. The Cats will close out their regular season there this year as well. Point University at Pikeville. You mentioned Point a moment ago, and the Bears of Pikeville.
Both teams come in 1-1. Have one common opponent. Both played Bluefield. Both teams defeated Bluefield. We play Pikeville next week, so I'm going to be careful with this pick. But Point, just looking at some of the stats, I believe it's going to be a close game. Both teams fairly similar. But I've got Point sneaking the win there in Pikeville, Kentucky.
What's your score?
24-17.
24-17. Speaking of cosmetically beautiful, Pikeville, a great city to visit as well, nestled down between the mountains up in the Eastern Commonwealth. Cumberland's, Kentucky has the open date, so that will give us right to our big game. It's the Skyhawks and the Cats. The 25th time they would have met. Last time they met was in 1995, and it was all Skyhawks. I think they were a different name by then, but back then. But it was 97-7. Bethel's had some success in this though, 13-10-1, and this winning streak right now, or the losing streak for Bethel, the winning streak for Martin right now is the most consecutive that either team has had, and it's 6 right now.
It is, and I think as we talked earlier, it's at games at Martin, it's 6-6-1.
Yeah, so, 6-6-1.
So if you look at the mathematics of it, it's it's kind of a toss up that way. But I mean, talent wise, Martin's going to have some bigger, stronger players, which that's a D1 school.
Sure.
The difference. We'll see a few familiar faces. I know Damani Taylor, a good friend of mine that used to play here at Bethel. Right. He transferred there. Great player. I think it'll be closer than most people will think. So, but I think UT Martin will come away with the victory.
What's your score? I think it was 41-31 you gave?
41-31.
41-31. So the Cats hanging tough for a long time. Zach has us losing by 10. We'll wait and see what happens. The last time Bethel won in this series was 1949. They had some years there. Obviously, they didn't play. The first time the two schools met, the two programs met anyway, was in 1925. Any closing comments before we get to Coach Elliott?
I'm looking forward to going Thursday. That'll be it should be a great atmosphere. Two close schools and their home opener.
No radio for you and no Wildcat Vision, as we do not have the bandwidth there to in the ports there to broadcast or televise our game. We remind you that Wildcat Vision this year will be appropriate for you, and hopefully that you'll tune in to us on the televised side of it. We both have faces for radio, I might add, but we'll have the Pikeville game, and we'll do that one for you coming up here live at Wildcat Stadium on the 19th. And we have 4 games that we'll do in football, and then we have quite a few in basketball, all the home games in basketball, and some selected road games there as well. The league does have a rule, by the way. The Mid-South Conference does have a rule. If you're wondering why we're not going on the road streaming, there is a rule that if the home team is streaming, we can't go stream our games back to you, and we apologize for that. I don't know why we apologize, but it's not our decision. It is the decision of the league. But I can understand that because of space and bandwidth, because most of the press boxes in the Mid-South Conference aren't really, really big. But certainly we wish we could do that. But we did want to tell you why that we're not going on the road with football for the most part. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Zach, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Yes,
and when we come back, Coach Chris Elliott, he'll talk about the Missouri Baptist game, the big win for the Cats. And then we'll set the stage later in the program for the big ball game at UT Martin this coming Thursday night as well. So we'll be back right after this with the Chris Elliott Show continuing here on Wildcat Vision. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave McCulley, along with Zach O'Kelly, your host for the Chris Elliott Show. Glad to be back with you this week, talking some Wildcat football, and the Cats coming off an open week this past week. But before that, they traveled up to St. Louis, and boy, what a way to open up the season. Coach, congratulations on a great win at Missouri Baptist, and boy, we took care of business early, didn't we?
Well, we did, and I mean that's always the goal when we play a game, is to start the game fast and then finish it faster. And the plan, I guess, came out the way we wanted it to.
Your first attack, obviously, you don't mind throwing the ball, but you love to run the football. You're sort of old school like me, and what was it, when you throw the ball, three things happen and two of them are bad, but certainly established the running game early, and then the passing came later, over 500 yards in total offense, and a lot of it on the ground early.
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret that's our main objective, is to run the ball, and a lot of good things can happen when you do that successfully. Then it opens up the pass, and we are able to have a little bit of success there as well. So we are looking to be balanced, but typically it will be a little bit heavier on the run side.
A lot of kids played well for the Wildcats, and Coach, you could just about go with the whole roster, special teams, everyone played well.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, of course we had high expectations going into the game, and we felt like we were capable of playing that way. And it was nice to just get the opportunity to go play and actually, see our expectations come to life, so to speak, because you just don't know, until you play that first game. But a lot of guys stepped up. The guys that we expected to do well did, and then some of the younger guys stepped up and, showed the reason why they made the trip.
Certainly the case. A lot of depth at running back. That was one thing that really, and I knew that we had some players there that could come in and go out, but certainly the depth really sound this year.
Well, I mean, if you're going to run the ball as much as we do, you have to have a lot of people back there to give opportunities to carry the ball. And of course, those guys are all, they have their strong points, and there's things that each one of them do well. But they're all different in their own good way as well. So, but a lot of those guys had a chance to touch the ball and show what they could do in a game situation. Not
doing radio this year. We're doing Wildcat Vision. All 4 home games will be televised here. Zach O'Kelly and I will have the honor of doing that. I'm really excited about not only this week at Martin, but we're not there for that. We're there in the press box with other things. But our Pikeville game coming up on the 19th is our first Wildcat Vision, and a lot of you folks around the area, be sure and spread on the word to other people that they can watch that at BethelAthletics.com. But getting back to my point, Coach, we didn't make the trip, but I watched it. I'm telling you, our offensive line, you talk about, I guess just one word I would use for them, impressive.
Well, I mean, they are always going to be the key to our level of success on a game day. Running the ball, throwing the ball, whatever. I mean, those guys have to be able to control the line of scrimmage for us, and they did a good job. And that, as a group of guys that has played together, for the last year or so, and I mean, they showed that, with that experience that, they've grown together as a group, and they performed like, we thought that they could.
Losing some really key personnel on the receiver side of it, have to be pleased with some kids that caught some touchdown passes for you.
Yes, and I mean, some of those guys, got a good bit of playing time last year. I think Hunter Smith had 2 touchdown catches. He was big for us last year as a true freshman. Now he's just a true sophomore. But I mean, a lot of those guys are guys that are going to be around. Quincy Walden, he's the oldest one, and he's just a junior.
Special teams, Quincy really set us up with some great field position too.
Well, and as we always say, special teams are a huge part of the game, and we treat it as such. And I mean, anytime we can, get 30, 40, whatever yards, off of a punt return and start with the ball inside the opponent's 20, that puts us in a very good situation.
Casey kicked the ball well for us too, didn't he?
He did. He did. It was his first game doing everything.
Yeah.
He kicks off punts, field goal, extra point. So, that's something he's going to have to get used to in terms of taking care of his body and making sure he's physically prepared each week, because it is a lot of work. It's doable, but it's a lot of work, and he's just got to get used to it.
A lot of other things, maybe some other things I've missed that stood out in offense for you.
Just the fact that, we were able to do, execute the plan the way we had it drawn up. I mean, there were a couple little mental errors, some mistakes here or there.
Protected the ball well, though, didn't we?
We did. We did turn it over one time, which is unacceptable. But and that was in the second half of the game. I mean, we pride ourselves in taking care of the ball, and also pride ourselves in taking it away. We ended up even. We had one turnover and then took the ball away once, so we basically were even for the game. But yes, we did take care of the ball for the most part, and that's what we're always setting out to do.
Let's talk about Coach Phillips' defensive unit. Really solid performance.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you have to do, I think, to be a successful football team is, one, you have to be able to run the ball, and two, you have to be able to stop the run. And that was one of the things we did right from the start. I think we were probably approaching double-digit 3-and-outs with our defense, and I think the first 3 to 4 times Missouri Baptist had the ball, they went 3-and-out, and got good field position, and we were able to score, and really jump on them early. But defensively, to be able to get on the field for 3 plays and come right off, that's what you're looking to do.
Especially on a hot night like that. It's pretty humid in St. Louis, even north of us, obviously, but to get them on and get them off and to keep those legs fresh for the second half. In a close game, it's really important, but even in a game like that we had a good sizable lead, and it also affords to get some other kids in there from time to time.
When we did, I think, pretty much everybody that made the trip, I think, got an opportunity to get on the field in some capacity, whether it be offense, defense, or special teams. So that was good to kind of get everybody a taste of some game experience and get an idea of what that feels like.
Nice way, obviously, to begin the season.
Yeah, I think it had been a few years since we won the first game, so certainly a good start to what we hope will be a good year. And
dating back to last year's road games, I think it's our 4th road game in a row that we've won, dating back to the last 3 of last year.
Yeah, I trust you. You probably know better than I would, but yeah, and that's one of the things that you have to be able to do, is be able to go on the road and play well and be able to win some games.
It'll be the 408th game this week when we take on UT Martin. Night game Thursday night, 6:30 kickoff at Hardy Graham Stadium. When we come back, we'll talk to Coach Elliott about that, a little bit about the series, but primarily about his Wildcats taking on Coach Simpson's Skyhawks, and we'll talk about that when we come back as you watch the Chris Elliott Show here on Wildcat Vision. Welcome back to Wildcat Vision's Chris Elliott Show. Some of the other coaches will be joining us from time to time, not only from football, maybe some of the players from week to week as well, but we'll also talk to some of our other athletic coaches around the campus as well in the days and weeks to come. I'm Dave McCulley along with Zach O'Kelly. Coach, 408th game that Bethel will take the gridiron and put on the pads, and the 25th time these two will meet, and it's been a good series dating all the way back to 1925, although this will be the first game that we played since 1995.
Yeah, of course, a lot of those date back prior to both of our days. So,
even me.
Yeah, well, that's why I said both of our days. And of course, I think the last time we played was 1995. Yeah. So, that was, the program came back in '93. So that was kind of when the program was in its infant stages, in terms of the second return. But, so not a lot of modern history, I guess, between the two of us, but we'll get an opportunity to bring that back Thursday.
Sure. Interesting side note, it will be the 14th time the teams have met in Martin, and interesting enough, it's 6-6-1 up in Martin. So, figures doesn't really mean anything other than we media folks, we like to flash them in for the fans from time to time. Tell me what you saw on film. Obviously, they go down to Oxford, and Coach Freeze, an old buddy of mine that I worked with at Lambeth for 2 years, and a friend of yours, he played a lot of people, put a lot of people in later, tried all 3 of his quarterbacks, but it was pretty well the Johnny Rebs from the very beginning, wasn't it?
It was. It was just, unfortunately, it was one of those days, for Martin, but, I don't think you can look at that score and try to judge what kind of a football team they're going to be. That would be very unrealistic and unfair to do that. You have to look past all that. People on the outside will look at scores and that's all they deem important. But, scores really don't mean a whole lot to us in terms of what we're looking for. It's more watching the game and, comparing what we saw last Saturday to what we saw on film last year. A lot of stuff stayed fairly consistent. Personnel obviously is going to be a little bit different because they have people graduate, but it's more just looking at schemes and what they're trying to do from a philosophical standpoint, as opposed to, looking at statistics and scores and all those kind of things.
Coach Simpson's really done a really good job up there. I mean, he's been one of the winningest coaches at Martin. He's moved right up that ladder there, and one of the winningest in the OVC as far as his percentage is concerned. Done an outstanding job. We have a lot of respect for him.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've had a chance to speak with him some through the years, being as close as we are. And, a lot of times our guys will go and take part in pro days up there. And before they had the turf field, some of their guys would come down and do pro days here. So, I think the programs have had a pretty solid relationship throughout the years.
I know you stayed back and watched the game. Some of our other coaches went down and scouted firsthand right there at the field. But what do you see that impresses you about them? And I know you just throw that game out of the mix to some degree, but the things that he's established there and done, some of the things he's doing this year, tell me a little bit about them offensively, defensively.
Well, I mean, offensively, they tend to lean a little bit more on the run, which is not surprising. Even in a game like last Saturday, they still were run heavy as compared to the past. But I mean, they've got an offensive line group that some of those guys are new guys that they plugged in with some older guys, and they have a senior quarterback that's played a decent amount through the years. And some of their running backs that were higher up on statistics last year are back. So I think their starter is a senior, the quarterback's a senior. Some of the receivers have played. So they've got a decent amount of experience there that which means they would have run that system for the last 2, 3, and going on 4 years. So they're going to be solid with what they do, and I would expect them to come out and execute very well.
And typically when we move up, and I say we move up, we're in the NAI school. We love our kids, and we have some great student athletes. But typically bigger and stronger is what you face when you move up to play an NCAA team. Tell me about them defensively.
Defensively, they're a 3-3 team, and they hold pretty true to that. They'll adjust to certain formations that we'll line up in, but personnel-wise, they've got a handful of guys back from last year that statistically were at the top of the list for them last year. So expect that they're going to come out and play really well.
You mentioned the field turf. It's a turf that the rain. It's as we tape this. Obviously, the forecast is for rain for the game. We're not sure how much, and obviously they could miss it a few hours in there. But certainly the weather shouldn't be a big factor for either team.
I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be.
I did a high school game last week, and my color man Stan kept saying, "Well, this has hurt us." I had to remind him both teams are having to play in it. But
I mean, it's whatever it's going to be, it will be, and we'll just have to deal with it.
Special teams, 30% of every game.
Yeah, I mean, it's we say it all the time. I mean, it's an even part: offense, defense, special teams, and I mean, that's an area that we, like I always say, we put a lot of focus in and spend a lot of time with it, and it tends to pay off for us on game days. And those plays are, you can make a big play in special teams that can kind of be, affect the game a little bit more than, maybe a big play on offense or defense, because there's a lot less opportunities, but a big return or a block kick or something like that, can really swing momentum one way or the other.
Going back to the mental state of affairs, our kids have to have a lot of confidence coming out of that big win at Missouri Baptist, and certainly I would expect that to carry over to the UT Martin game.
Well, I mean, success should do that.
Sure.
But as soon as that game was over, we went back to 0-0.
Right.
We deal with things, one day at a time, one game at a time, one moment at a time. So, that being said, all that success we had, that's over and done with, and then we move on. And, of course, we've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, which is good. We should be about as healthy as we can be going into this game. But from a confidence standpoint, it should be there. Just based on not just what we did the first game, but the fact that, these guys from an experience standpoint have, played a lot more games now. And I think we saw, kind of the results of that, last or 2 weeks ago at Missouri Baptist. So we're just looking to build on, what we accomplished that first week and, go and play, try to play the best we can.
I know, Coach, that a few people you've added to the roster, and we won't go over all those names. They'll have them up in the press box and on their media side up there. But certainly the kids, not a lot of changes. I looked at the 2 deep, pretty well going status quo what we had at the Missouri Baptist.
Yeah, I mean, basically, a couple guys we added that, were some people that, we weren't ready to add them the first week, but now they're ready to go on, whether it be from an injury standpoint or something like that. But, pretty much it'll, stick to what you saw, the first week.
And coaches always, in being a broadcaster all these years, I learned this very quickly, is that coaches look from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, all the progression, all the different things. Practice makes perfect, too. I mean, you look at people performing well in practice, you add them to the roster, but certainly you anticipate this game even playing better than you did the first game, no matter who the opponent might be.
Well, yeah, I mean, they always say, and I guess it's an old adage, I don't know if it's scientifically proven or not, but, you make a big change between game 1 and game 2. Sure. Now, of course, we played game 1, had a week off, and now we're playing game 2, so we've had even more time to focus on some things that maybe we didn't like, that we needed to, work on a little bit more. So we've had a lot of time to prepare for this game. So, confidence-wise, I think we should be there in terms of being comfortable with what we're going to see. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the field. We prepare and, we get comfortable with our opponent, but, the only thing we control on Thursday night is what we do.
I had someone to mention to me that they saw a local interview on a local TV station with Coach Simpson, and he said the opponent this week is nameless, and they took offense to that. Coach Simpson certainly didn't say that about Bethel. He was just saying that no matter who they played, whether it be the Steelers or the Wildcats of Bethel, he just wanted his team to play well, and he wasn't demeaning Bethel in whatsoever when he made that statement. It's a nameless opponent. He was just saying, look, we got to line up and play, and you knew exactly what he was saying there.
Well, and I didn't see that, but I mean, he's right. I mean,
sure.
And that's kind of how we look at each week, regardless of who we're playing.
Sure.
Like I said, we prepare for who we're going to play, and we know what's coming and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because, like I said, we don't control what they do. We control what we do. We control how we approach things and how we handle ourselves, and that's really all that's important when the ball's kicked off anyways.
I know coaches don't get involved in this. We media types do, and obviously the fans do, but I know once that whistle is shrill, the shrill of the whistle is heard, you're focused in, your coaches are focused in, but I'm getting to the point, should be a great atmosphere though.
Yeah, I mean, from an interest standpoint, you would think, in West Tennessee there'd be a lot of people excited about the game,
Their home opener.
Yeah, it's theirs, and, a chance for us to get a little bit closer to home.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll play our first one at home next week, but, it should be a good night. I think there'd be a lot of people out to watch the game, but, at the end of all of that, there's 22 people on the field, and we're going to play a game.
On a last note with Coach Elliott, nothing to do with Bethel, your Irish looked really good the other night.
I didn't really get to see much of it, but I read a little bit about it, so I guess it started off okay.
The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame is what I'm talking about. He and Lindsay are big fans of the Irish and the Steelers. That's in my game notes even this week as well. Coach, good luck to you. We'll see you up there, and I'll be down on the field with you before the ball game, but a lot of success to you and the Cats.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coach Chris Elliott joins us here on Wildcat Vision. I'm Diamond Dave McCulley for Zach O'Kelly. So long, everybody.